This is quite crazy. They were saying that the privileges of Parliament, at least 1429, only for civil cases, not for criminal ones. But really, since when do you get arrested for a civil case or a civil matter? Police don't get involved in civil matters. Well, they didn't have the police back then anyway, but I suppose maybe citizens... Was this like when citizens were arresting other persons who they wanted to take to court or try in the courts? But then later on down here, it says that by 1675 that the laws and usage of Parliament, privilege of Parliament, belongs to every member of the House of Commons in all cases except treason, felony, and breach of the peace. Well, but what are you going to get arrested? If you're not going to get arrested for if you're not being prosecuted or arrested for a felony, treason or breach of the peace, what's left? What's left to be arrested for or prosecuted for? Because a felony is the only thing that you'll be prosecuted for. Breaking the law. A felony, a crime. So if privilege didn't apply to felony, breaches of the peace, and treason, what's left? Because there's no point in it. And it's only civil cases or civil causes. Who the police or the authorities, the sheriff doesn't supposedly get involved in civil causes or cases. Particularly now, the police won't get involved in civil matters. So who's going to arrest you for a civil offence or cause? Unless you go to a court. You know? Unless you go to a court and you get an order, it's usually for money. Civil cases are usually I owe you money or you've got their possessions, although you only use a bailiff. If it's not actual money finances, if it's like, who owns the car or... Because, like, you can have a subpoena for give over some documents. Who's going to go get the documents? A bailiff. They aren't out to arrest the person. They're not going to arrest the person. They're going to get the item, the documents. Although you can compel people to give testimony, to write witness testimony. Maybe if you issue a subpoena through a civil court, you're compelling someone to give information or write information. Maybe the court might be able to... Well, I don't think a bailiff can go around and get a statement. It's very... this needs further research, peculiar or rare. Like, with my case, I want to compel the documents, right? Because I've got a right to publish them. But the thing is, it says that first subpoenas to do with Parliament or casework to Parliament, like petitions, right? Normal courts aren't supposed to get involved. I've been complaining about the Lady Chief Justice, that, where is, I need certain documents produced or published, right? Because courts can stop people publishing something, but they can also make them publish something, the reverse of it, right? Now, the thing is, I've just read in this book, supposedly, that if it's a case with Parliament, the jurisdiction is with Parliament and not the other courts. So that means the other courts can't give a subpoena because it's Parliament. But Parliament aren't currently offering subpoenas, although it says in the standing orders that they can compel documents and summon people. But the Privileges Committee, the Petitions Committee, seem to be just doing it as they sort of... they're doing it as if... The thing is, if you hire a lawyer to represent you, the lawyer does all the work and decides what, matters that you need to deal with. If you pay a lawyer to represent you, they will decide what they think documents they need and what documents they don't need and so forth. If you're self-representing, you decide what evidence that you need and don't need, right? Now, if you've got a case with Parliament and you're opposing Parliament, this is the problem. Are the MPs with you or against you? If they're acting in a similar way to how your lawyers act, because you've elected them to act for you in Parliament, but they're in an opposition party and you've only got one MP, and the MP you've got is in opposition to you, he's not going to be a very good advocate in Parliament unless you compel him to with, 100,000 signatures or 1 million signatures. But you're trying to get those signatures as evidence, and in order to get those signatures, you need to prove to people why they should sign it. So you need to show them some evidence why they need to support it. And if you can't get the evidence, then, who's going to subpoena it? Have you got the authority under the right to petition to get the evidence yourself? Or do you need a warrant from Parliament? This is the thing. But the petition, Cat Smith, MP, the petitions committee are political party advocates and members. And many people now, the majority, if you are a good little Labour Party munchkin, or if you're an obedient little Conservative Party puppet, right? Why would you need to petition the government? If you're like, yes, Keir Starmer, no Keir Starmer, 3 bags full Keir Starmer, I'm a little Labour sheep, right? Oh, look at all these Labour policies, right? Then you go vote for them and you're like dancing around the road, whistling Dixie, cheering, going, yeah, Keir Starmer's my hero. He's going to take care of everything because I subscribe to all their policies and no others, right? The only time in Labour Party, if you challenge policies, is usually if you're in the Labour groups, if you're a member of the Labour Party, like, Jason Williamson was, but he got expelled because he'd been, talking things that aren't in line with the party, trying to change the direction of the party or lead the, like Jeremy Corbyn was expelled because, even in their own private meetings that aren't even in Parliament, you're talking policies which don't align, So it seems to me that the only people who would possibly want to conceive to petition the Parliament, take up the right to petition, are those who aren't happy with the government or what the government's doing. Although what Keir Starmer will say is, it's a Conservative government, but, why would you need to petition the Petitions Committee if Keir Starmer was already doing everything he could? If your Labour MPs were already members and already doing all they could, why would you need to collect anything or sign anything? They're taking care of it. They're on the front line. They're the front line of the opposition, so why would anyone need to use the Petitions Committee? It seems to me that the Petitions Committee at the moment, the only people who would want to use it or make use of it are people who actually didn't vote for any of the major parties and who are mainly opposed to the major parties and trying to get things through government independently. And you're definitely not going to get any help from the Petitions Committee with that casework when it's run by, well, there were 1 or 2 independents in there, but you got SNP members, and Labour and Tory. So, it's actually, in the Charter of Liberties, it says that if any of my peers, does anything wrong to anyone, then they have to stand for the crime or stand for the matter. But that's in both civil and criminal. And then in the Magna Carta, it says that they only can be immersed by their peers, but surely you can make a complaint or grievance about them, so therefore you can petition Parliament or complain to Parliament about them, and then their peers will have to sort them out, right? They stand trial. This honour of Parliament rubbish, that, oh no, you can't disgrace the members or accuse them of anything or this or that. Well, how do you know, does anyone know they've done anything wrong? You report it, it says they can only be, they can only be put on trial by their equals, but you can report them. So, and then I don't even know what happened repealing Magna Carta. And then you've got Article 9 in the 1688 Bill of Rights with, parliamentary privilege, but it's not peer privilege, it's parliamentary privilege. So, I'm getting through this book now. To be honest, I made quite a few videos at the start of the opening bit of it because I was criticising a lot. The last sort of 50, 60 pages that I've been reading, I haven't actually started recording and been compelled to speak. I've just been actually quite enjoying it, and it was been quite informative. So what Erskine May has written over the last 50 pages have kind of been quite interesting and haven't critiqued it. But now when I got to this part, I'm kind of starting to scratch my head again. So I haven't quite yet got to the next section after. I've got 4 pages left, and then it goes on to how the courts can interact with Parliament or not. And then there's the section on petitioning, which I really want to read, but it's quite a small section. It only looks like a few pages, several pages. And then there's another section I want to read about impeachments, but I'm not reading this entire whole book because I don't want to. But what I have read in these sections has been quite interesting and important. But these are the main sections. The other sections are just on general operations of Parliament. But I want to read the part on petitioning, really. But this part is informative. I say that really you want to go by the legislation, although he's made reference to quite a few statutes. So there are acts of what this book's doing actually now is informing about quite a lot of statutes and so forth. But there's been quite a few statutes that have been repealed, and some are in contradiction. And then you've got the fact that the Great Charter cannot be repealed, but they somehow repealed it in 1967, even though that it contains the ancient customs, and Parliament apparently has to open with the ancient customs with the Speaker, which you can't open with ancient customs that have been repealed, surely. So I'm still scratching my head with it.